In this video, we will show you how to replace your front brake caliper on this Ford F-150. This is part of your braking system located behind your front wheel. Let's get into it. Safely raise and support the front end of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. After you've completed that, we're going to remove our center cover. To remove your center cover, you're going to find that there's a small slot on the cover itself. You can make your way in between and gently pry. Once you've removed your center cover, a quick inspection will set that aside. Now that exposes our 6 21mm lug nuts. Let's remove all those so we can remove our wheel. Now that we have the wheel out of the way, the next thing we have to do is make our way along the back side of the caliper. On this side is where you're going to find your bleeder screw and bleeder screw cover. Remove the cover, assuming you have one. For this, you can just use your fingers, or if you have to pry it out of place, you can do that as well. I have a small pry bar for that. Just a quick inspection of that, we'll set it aside. We're going to be hooking it up to our bleeder screw. We'll use a 10mm to open the bleeder screw once it's in place. After that, we have to make our way up into the passenger compartment with a pry bar or a rod of some sort. We're going to press the brake pedal all the way down to the floor as far as possible. We'll hold it there and continue on out here, closing our bleeder screw cover. Let's just open this, make sure a little bit of fluid comes out. Okay. After applying that pressure, we can remove our collection receptacle from this area. Fluid should stop making its way out. Now that we've completed that, the next thing we're going to do is make our way down to our banjo bolt. This bolt holds our brake flex hose to the caliper itself. We need to break it free and then we'll lightly snug it using a 14mm. Get some movement there. After completing that, we're going to follow our flex hose up. We need to separate the securing point for our ABS wire. For this, just go ahead and take hold of it and we'll slide it out of place. Quick inspection of that ABS wire, that looks good. We're moving along to our 2 caliper slider mounting bolts. For these, we're using a 13mm. I'm going to fully loosen the first one, a quick inspection, and start it back in a couple threads. Next one down here. Now we'll continue on prying this up and away from our caliper bracket. Now that we have that dislodged, we're just going to take this portion of the caliper and we'll set it aside temporarily. We will be removing it from the flex hose, but we're going to set it aside, putting no pressure on our flex hose. We don't want to cause any damage. Now we can start removing our brake pads. You can use a pry bar if necessary. Once you've removed your brake pads, you want to give them a thorough inspection. If it looks like they're worn at an angle or worn low, go ahead and replace them. If you do brake pads, you always replace the rotor at the same time. Just a quick inspection of those, that looks good. Now to remove our 2 caliper bracket bolts, we'll be using an 18mm for each of these. Once again, I always like to fully remove my first mounting bolt, a quick inspection, and start it back in a couple threads while I continue on to the next. As we continue on with the removal process, make sure your rotor does not fall off of the vehicle and potentially hurt you. There's our caliper bracket. We'll go ahead and set this aside for recycling. With that out of position, let's have a quick look at both sides of our brake rotor. This is the braking surface. We want to confirm it's not damaged or grooved or anything the like. This looks good on both sides. We'll continue on. Now it's time to start removing the flex hose from the caliper. We've already broken the banjo bolt free. We have a collection receptacle under this area. There's still going to be fluid inside of the caliper. Collect and recycle all of it properly. Just go ahead and drain that out. There it is, friend. Now that we have the entire caliper out of the way, we're going to focus directly on our brake flex hose. We need to pay attention to the mounting points. You're going to find that we need to clean each side of the flex hose. In each of these two areas, you're going to have a brand new crush washer during the installation. We want to make sure we have a smooth, clean surface. If you need to, you can use some sandpaper. A quick note about doing this is you do not want to use any type of detergents here, which could make their way into the braking system. After confirming that, we'll just go ahead and set it aside. Okay, it's time to prepare our brand new caliper for installation. We're going to start by turning it around and then we'll remove our two caliper slider bolts. For each of these, I'm going to be using a 13 millimeter. Now we can take this portion of the caliper and we'll set it aside so we can focus on the bracket itself. As far as the bracket, along each side of it, you're going to find that you have your slider pin and a protective boot. I like to remove my slider pin from the area just to give it a quick inspection and add lubricant as necessary. If you find you have a hard time removing it by hand, you can use a small pocket screwdriver. Just be extremely careful not to damage it in any way. We'll add lubricant along the entire shafted area of the slider pin all the way down to the tip. As I continue on, you can see I'm making my way up to where my fingers are here. That's where the boot's going to sit. We want to make sure we have lubricant there as well. A quick inspection of the boot, it's not torn. Let's go ahead and slide this in. While you press it in, you may find air gets trapped in the boot. Just go ahead and give that a quick squeeze. We don't want that slider pin pushing out. Work it around a little bit here. We're working in the grease, confirming everything's properly seated, and then repeat the process on the other side. As far as these slider pins, another quick note, you're going to find that one of them has a vibration dampener on it. That's this rubber piece here. During the installation process, you need to make sure you have it back in the pre-existing port. The one it was in is the one it needs to be in. Thoroughly lubricated, the boot looks good. Go ahead and squeeze out any air. After the slider pins, you're going to go along each side of the caliper bracket. We want to lubricate the areas where our caliper bracket tins will be located. This is going to help with vibration dampening and noise reduction overall. When you do press the bracket tin into place, make sure you squeeze along the center, locking it in. Repeat the process. One last quick inspection of the bracket, and we can get back over to the vehicle. We're taking the caliper bracket and we're getting it in place next to our steering knuckle. Start in each one of your two caliper bracket mounting bolts. After you have both of those started in, go ahead and snug them up and torque those to 136 foot-pounds. It's time to prepare to install our brake pads. Before putting these in place, I always like to inspect each side of each one of the brake pads. This is where you're going to find your mounting ears. These ears will slide into your caliper bracket and bracket tins. We want to make sure there's no raised areas. Go ahead and use some fine sandpaper if necessary. Light scuffing, just make sure there's nothing that's going to cause a restriction in movement. Now we have those cleaned. When we go to install these, there's just one more thing. On the back side of your inboard pad, typically you're going to find 2 circle marks. Those are from your caliper pistons, so that would be the inboard pad. The other pad will not have that. We'll slide this into place. We're not using any type of lubricant in between this area. As you do slide it in, just make sure that once it's in, it can move around and you did not need to use a hammer to tap it into place. It needs to be able to move freely. Same thing for the other pad. Now it's time to pay attention to the next portion of our caliper. We're continuing with our high temperature lubricant. Lubricate along each one of your 2 caliper pistons. After that, you're making your way along the back side of each of these 3 ears. We're essentially lubricating the areas that touch up against the brake pads, not necessarily anywhere else. Now with that lubricated, we can start getting this into place. We're sliding it over the brake pads and over each one of our 2 slider pins. Start in your caliper slider mounting bolts. Once they're both started in, snug them up and torque those to 25 foot-pounds. Now in the center of the caliper here, we'll remove our banjo bolts. You just want to be careful not to lose either of your 2 brand new gaskets. We're going to be using those. As you start removing them, you only really need to remove the first one. We'll leave one directly on this banjo bolt. Now we're going to take that banjo bolt that already has the crush washer on it, and we'll slide it straight on through our flex hose. Once you have it past there, you're going to continue on the other side with your next brand new gasket. You're not ever reusing any of these gaskets. Go ahead and get that in place. We'll start it in. For this, bottom it out, and I'm going to torque it to 25 foot-pounds. Now we'll just double check to make sure it's properly secured and it's not twisted in any way. Let's re-secure our ABS wire. Line it up, press it on. There we are. For the lug nuts, we're going to start each of them on. Once they're all started on, we can bottom them out. We'll get the wheels safely back down on the ground. We can continue on torquing each one of our 21mm lug nuts to 150 foot-pounds in a crisscross manner. Torqued. At the master cylinder, we're going to go ahead and remove all the fluid from in this area so we can replace it with brand new brake fluid. We don't want to use any of the pre-existing brake fluid. Let's start by removing the master cylinder cap along the top. Now inside of this area, you're going to remove the brake fluid. This can be done several different ways. If you have a fluid extractor, you can go ahead and carefully bring it down to this area and remove as much fluid as possible. And we'll just go ahead and top off our fluid. We're using brand new .3 or .4 brake fluid. It's really up to you. Now we can start bleeding the brakes. We're starting at the passenger side rear. For this, it's going to be easiest if you have a second person. The second person will be inside of the vehicle, and they're going to be pumping the brake for us. What we need them to do is pump up the brake approximately 3 to 5 times until it feels firm. Once it does, we're going to open up our bleeder screw and we're going to watch the fluid making its way out. We want to have only clean, brand new fluid, never any dirty fluid or even any air bubbles. I'm going to go ahead and remove this bleeder screw cover first. I have my collection receptacle, of course. We're going to recycle any fluid that comes out of this properly. Now on this caliper, I'm using a 10 millimeter for my bleeder screw. Now as you can see, I had a lot of dirty fluid making its way out of there. Let's continue on with our bleed process. Go ahead and pump, please. Go ahead and pump. There we go. Now we got some air coming from there. Let's go ahead and bleed this again. Now, once you feel as though you've removed all the dirty fluid and air from in the system, go ahead and remove your apparatus, and we'll continue on cleaning our mess and reinstalling the bleeder screw cover for this caliper. Now, I showed you how to bleed the caliper on one side of the vehicle. You're going to go over to the driver's side and repeat this exact same process. Once you've completed that, make your way up to the engine compartment and top off your master cylinder. After that, we're making our way to the passenger side front wheel. After topping off that master cylinder, we're at the passenger side front, as I mentioned. Go ahead and remove your bleeder screw cover. We're using our 10 millimeter for the bleeder screw here as well. Go ahead and pump up the brake pedal, please. Go ahead and pump. Go ahead and pump. Okay, that one looks perfect. Let's get one more here just to confirm everything's proper. Let's get that off of there. We can clean up our mess. Reinstall our bleeder screw cover. Now at this point, you need to go over to the driver's side front. You're going to repeat this exact same process, and we're ending back up under the hood. We're going to bring this all the way up to the maximum line. Just a little bit more. Reinstall your cap. Okay, friend, we finished bleeding our system. The next thing that you want to do is make sure that you hop in the passenger compartment, pump up the brake pedal, and confirm that it stays firm. After that, reinstall every one of your wheels and torque those lug nuts to 150 foot-pounds and take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.